Welcome. In this video, I'll introduce standard prompt strategies. Here's my disclaimer regarding terminology. Keep in mind that prompt engineering is an emerging field. There are no deeply established best practices. The vocabulary and terminology that I'll use to describe prompt strategies is based on my own personal experiences, research papers, and miscellaneous articles. We're going to focus on standard prompts in this video. These form the foundation for more advanced strategies. They consist of instructions or questions that guide the model towards a specific response. These are a good starting point for prompt experimentation because they're easy to understand and implement. The distinction between instructions and questions can be a matter of stylistic preference. However, there are also nuances that can impact the quality of the response. Let's explore instructional prompts first. Instructional prompts are directives that tell the model to perform a task. For example, translate this text into French, summarize this document, or describe photosynthesis. They explicitly instruct the model to perform a task. Instructions reduce the potential for ambiguous responses. They can also reduce the amount of experimentation required to find the right prompt. These work well for tasks that have a measurable outcome, such as translation, summarization, classification, and response formatting. Instructions can also be used to guide the model towards a specific direction. For example, describe chocolate from the perspective of a child, or describe chocolate from the perspective of a chef. So, if instructions are so great, why not use them all the time? Part of the answer is that instructions can be limiting. There are inherent constraints that are either implicitly or explicitly defined. These constraints can limit the perceived creativity and intellect of the model. Let's explore question-based prompts, and then we'll compare the two. Question-based prompts pose questions to the model. For example, what is photosynthesis, or how do plants grow? With question-based prompts, we're asking the model to provide answers. Questions can produce more creative responses, allowing the model to make connections that may not be obvious. Questions are valuable for use cases requiring more conversational interactions. For example, chatbots, customer support, and interactive fiction. Being able to ask the question, "Are those shoes available in yellow?" is more natural than the instruction, "List the available colors for these shoes," at least in this context. Question-based prompts can be further broken down into open, closed, and leading questions. Open questions are broad and lack specific boundaries. For example, how has chocolate influenced humanity? Is an open question that allows for expansive answers. The response might cover the early use by the Mayans and Aztecs, the introduction to Europe, the social and ethical implications of the chocolate industry, or other details that you may not have considered. Closed questions are usually specific and anticipate short, definitive answers. For example, is chocolate a good source for antioxidants? This is a closed question. This question is closed off to answers that aren't related to chocolate and antioxidants. However, the question remains open enough to allow for variation within the context of chocolate and antioxidants. The response might cover the amount of antioxidants in chocolate, the impact of antioxidants on health, or the impact of antioxidants on the culinary world. Leading questions are framed to suggest a particular answer or guide the model towards a specific direction. For example, why does dark chocolate have higher amounts of antioxidants is a leading question. The question is worded in a way that suggests that dark chocolate has higher amounts of antioxidants. This question leads the model to explain the connection between dark chocolate and antioxidants. It's kind of like asking, why is this fact true? Use open questions when you want to explore a topic. Use closed questions when you want to limit the scope of the response. Use leading questions when you want to guide the model towards a specific response. However, be careful with leading questions. They can bias the response towards a specific direction. Consider the question, why is chocolate the best food? This question includes the assumption that chocolate is the best food. This can bias the model to take a positive stance on chocolate. Now, let's compare instructional and question-based prompts. Both strategies have their strengths and weaknesses, and they can be used together. For some use cases, it's a matter of personal preference. For other use cases, one strategy might prove more effective than the other. Compare these two prompts. Describe the impact of chocolate on the culinary world from the perspective of a chef. Versus, how would a chef describe the impact of chocolate on the culinary world? These are effectively the same prompt with roughly the same desired outcome. Used in this way, the difference between these two strategies is stylistic. For these simple use cases, it's a matter of personal preference. I tend to prefer instructional prompts because they're more explicit. Your preferences may differ. In order to get the most out of these strategies, you need to lean into their strengths. The strength of instructional prompts is that they're explicit. They're useful for tasks that have measurable outcomes. Instructing a model to format information in a specific way is a good example. The prompt, format the provided information as a CSV file, provides the model with clear instructions. You wouldn't expect to use a question-based prompt for this. For example, how would you format the provided information as a CSV file is a question that's too open-ended for this use case. Would you format the provided information as a CSV file might be how you would ask a person, but not a model. The strength of question-based prompts is that the model is free to explore different connections and relationships in a conversational way. Consider the prompt, what can I expect for the future of coffee? This open question allows the model to explore a variety of possibilities. The model might cover the impact of climate change, the rise of coffee alternatives, or the future of coffee shops. User-facing applications such as customer support, documentation bots, and chatbots are good examples of use cases that benefit from question-based prompts. These two strategies form the foundation for more advanced strategies. Try experimenting with these strategies to see how they impact the response. Find out what works best for you and your use cases. Okay, that's going to be all for this video. Thanks for watching.